What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shogi from Shook Earth Media, and today we are talking about Dark Winds, episode 3. I thought we got some good feedback on the last video, so why not try to do a review like how we do The Walking Dead. I got the episode pulled up, and we're gonna go through it and discuss it. Unlike my last review, this review will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, I recommend you do so. We are a week early on the streaming service AMC Plus, so the episode tonight is the second episode. I already reviewed that, so if you don't have AMC Plus and you're watching on cable, you can check out my first video for my thoughts on that without any spoilers. But yeah, this video will cover the third episode, which is next week's episode for cable. But just throwing that out there as a disclaimer, but I like this episode a lot. As with the previous episode, we slowed down the pace with the investigation, and the plot focuses on introducing specifically Chee and I believe her name is Bernadette, the other deputy in the department. So that's most of what the episode focuses on, is building up their backstory and also showing a bit of the Lee Porn's marriage and dealing with new house guests, as we will get into. But we get teased at the very beginning of this episode with Rainn Wilson's character, who's an eccentric, Jesus-loving car salesman, is what it looks like. But we get introduced to him by he's rocking his van. He's got a woman in there, and they're getting it on. I'm presuming that they're not married, so maybe his religion is more for show than anything, but I guess we'll find out. It's just a tease. I was hoping we'd get to see a bit more, but I like this character. I like having somebody who's a bit more over the top and bringing some kind of humor, levity to it. It's kind of funny, you know, he finishes his business, and then the woman's like, but wait, what about me? And he's already on his way. So that's funny. I like this character. I'm intrigued to see more. He's laundering his money through the paintings. That's the tease we get. So basically, there are these paintings that are made that we found out about last week that the Mormons bought, unfortunately, at the store, and there's money in those paintings, and they're using the store as an intermediary, presumably so that there's not a record of who bought what painting. So that's their money laundering scheme, is to put this money in the paintings. We don't know what they're doing to get that money, but there's some kind of criminal enterprise going on. Again, hinting at the religion thing just being for show. And we get a little bit more about the priest character, who's kind of being built up as a villain in this show. So let's just jump right into the episode. I really enjoyed this first scene. Again, bringing some levity into this show. I'm enjoying that there's, you know, dark, serious subjects in the show, but we are not afraid to have a humorous scene in there. So Lee Porn and Chee pull up to this market, and there's somebody there they want to see because he has experience diving, and of course leading up on the whole helicopter situation last week and how we got the proof that the helicopter may or may not have crashed in there. They want somebody to dive in. So that's what they're here for. But we get a good look at the culture of the area and how they view police officers in general. So I think this scene serves a lot of purposes. While it's on the surface just kind of a fun scene, I like the part where the guy runs, right, and Chee goes after him, and I of course love how Lee Porn's like, I'm too old for that. It's very you know, it's classic humor, so it's a funny scene, and I enjoy a little bit of levity in the show. So ultimately, by the end of the episode, he does find something, so we are going to follow up on that, but this first attempt is unsuccessful. But they get more information about the Mormons, so there we go, and now we're dealing with this pregnant young woman who is living in the house with the witch lady in the first episode, and now she's staying with them, and now they have another new house guest because their niece just got her first period, which leads to a celebration in the culture. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not gonna butcher it, but there's a celebration we get to see in this episode, and I don't know if that niece character was established before, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it ties in with. It feels like a bit of a random element, but I do like to see the ceremony and how it just expresses a little bit more about their culture. So we don't get it explained to us. We just kind of see what the ceremony is, so we just get to kind of experience it. So I like that. So the budding relationship between Chee and Bernadette is probably the best part of the episode, I think. I like how we got a whole kind of arc. We start with them being icy towards each other, and then breaking the ice. Chee, when he reveals a bit about his backstory and shows an interest in her backstory, there's that ice breaking that happens, and by the end of the episode, they are both, kind of openly interested in each other. So I think it's a nicely done arc there. So I like that. The only thing I will say is that I think it would have played off a little bit better if we got more stuff for them to do in the investigation. We get this. They're together in this episode because they're following up on the receipt that they found and learning about the painting that wasn't in the car. So we get a little bit of information about the investigation there, but it's stuff we already knew, of course. But then after that, they don't have a lot to do with for the rest of the episode plot-wise. It's just a lot of like character stuff, which plays off well, like I said. But I feel like it might have played off a little better if they had a bit more to do investigation-wise. But that's just a small criticism. And this character, Lester, I will say I like him more. We're getting to see a bit more of him, and he's trying to help out with the investigation. So he's a likable actor. So I like this character. I'm curious to see how much more involved in the story he's going to be. And I also like the depiction of the marriage here, and they feel very authentic to me. And there's a lot of like negotiating between them in this episode, doing things for each other, and it just comes off very authentic. So I really like how that goes. And then at the end, when when Mrs. Leaphorn at the end of the episode reveals that she wants to make the house guest situation permanent, you get to see that reaction on his face that again feels very authentic, very real. So I just appreciate the attention to detail with the characters. And here we get a little bit about the ceremony. I don't know much about the ceremony. This is my first time learning about it, so I can't really describe what's going on here, other than to say that it is visually interesting, and I like the ceremonial dress that they have. And I just think it adds a little bit. Again, the setting of the show is the star to me. It's not the investigation. It's almost like what Twin Peaks is one of my favorite shows. This is a very different show, but something is true for both of them, and that is that the central investigation is really not the main thing you're watching it for. You're watching it because you're interested in the setting, the characters, and there's all these darker mysteries under the surface that you want to find out about, but it's mostly the characters that drive it. So that's, I think, what makes the show work at this point. It's the setting makes it unique enough in the landscape that they don't even really need to put that much into the investigation aspect, because it's about the characters at the end of the day. So that's what I like about this show. And now Leaphorn pulls over this guy because the truck seems similar to the truck that was in the desert with the Mormons. So he finds out that it's from the car salesman guy. Again, not followed up with that. I'm assuming we're going to go back there next episode. I find it interesting that they introduced that in this episode and then didn't do much with it. But of course, we're telling a long-form story here. So it's more like one long story than 6 episodes, So, of course, that is what we come to expect with serialized television. So, and then we're interrogating the artist. This is the second and last thing that Chee and Bernadette have to do. But I like that they find out she's lying. She's not revealing everything about the paintings, of course, because of the money laundering scheme. But yeah, so the investigation, again, it's like a slow kind of drip feed, and hopefully we get a little bit more later, but we're taking the time now to deal with the characters. I think it's smart, but in the next episode, I'm going to want to see more with the investigation and stuff to keep the story moving. So the pacing is slowed down, as it should at this point, but I think that if they stretch it out too much longer, it might be an issue. Again, we have this scene here with the FBI guy and Leap Horn, and as with the first episode, the FBI is kind of screwing over the Navajo police. They have no interest in the murder case. The murder case is considered closed, and they're just releasing the bodies, but they're not providing any transportation. Leap Horn has to do it. So, again, showing just how the federal government at this point was not overly interested in taking care of the reservation. So I like showing that part of history. And again, this show to me, like what makes it so good is the authenticity. And again, Leap Horn here in the market, he found a pot that was made in Taiwan. So showing that, it's not a genuine product. It's a tourist trap kind of deal. So I like that element of it. And then he's buying these scarves here for the ceremony. I will say there was a particular shot right here where you could see the camera shadow. This is my one obligatory nitpick about cinematography stuff. We always have to have something in all of my reviews where I nitpick some cinematography stuff that ultimately, like, it's a mistake, but it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it. But it is definitely something I was like, oh, come on. Really? I think it's coming up right here, this next reverse shot. I might need to edit some stills over this so that I don't get copyright claim. There is the camera. That is the monitor on top of the camera that you saw on his shoulder. And I think it shows up again once the camera cuts back to it. But, so yeah, that's a slight gaffe, I'm surprised nobody noticed that, It's, to me, those are the kind of things that I look for when I'm on set, so that my eyes go straight to that. When I'm filming stuff, I'm always making sure that I'm looking at reflections, I'm looking at camera shadow where things might potentially go wrong. So I'm the type of person that will notice that stuff on the first viewing, but most people probably won't. That's why I wanted to point it out. But this scene I really like, and I didn't really know what was going on with this building, because we went here in one of the previous episodes, maybe both of them, I don't really remember, but Chee apparently was raised here, grew up here, and he tells his backstory of how there's a domestic dispute. His stepfather figure, I guess you could say, was a drunken asshole, and his mom hit him over the head with a frying pan, and therefore now the tribe thinks that she's a witch. And I think this is, again, we're getting a little bit more about the culture. We're getting into Chee's head a little bit. I think we're trying to build him up as somebody that we like. After, he was introduced basically driving past people that were in need of help. So we're trying to add some complexity to him, give him that backstory. And so when we have some conflict with him later, which we got in the preview, we got that there's going to be some conflict. I mean, of course, he's FBI, so he's working for the enemy in a way. So we're going to have some conflict with him. So they have to build him up to be somebody that we kind of like. And I think this relationship with Bernadette really is going to make that work. So I like this scene. I will say, I wish there was, this is where I'm like, I wish there was a reason that they were here or something. But I mean, of course, the reason is that Chee is interested in her and feels like he can only get through to her if he is a member of the tribe. Like, she's really important. It's really important to her where she's from, her culture and stuff like that. And yeah, I just like this scene a lot. So it's a big character moment. And here we got the diving guy. He found a parachute, so that's going to lead somewhere. I like how he felt compelled to continue diving, even though he didn't find anything. He wants to get paid, basically. So I like that character too. And he was a good comic relief earlier on. And we got this scene with Leap Horn returning the bodies. It's a heartbreaking scene. So now that we know the backstory behind that whole situation, honestly, if you guys haven't taken the time to rewatch the first episode after seeing the second one, I highly recommend it, because there's a lot of subtle details that you will only really know what they mean after watching the second episode. So right when they first meet, they reference the fact that just by the way this guy on the screen right now, I forget his name, but the way that he responded right away, he references the fact that Lee Porn shot him, but it's in a subtle enough way that you wouldn't know that on first viewing, of course. So I really recommend watching that first scene again. A lot of really smart directing cues. And here we are at the fake priest's house, and he buries the body of the other gentleman who was killed, and we're cutting this simultaneously with this celebration of life going on. So I like the life and death cycle and the various celebrations happening simultaneously. I think it's a powerful scene. I really like it. And here we got the artist coming into the hideout that we got at the end of the last week, and we're getting a little bit more teasing of what's going on. The Mormon people are just in a hole in the ground, so they didn't kill him yet. I don't know what their plan is. They have a big plan. I don't know what it is. He has connections to Italy, we find out in this episode. So there's a lot of intriguing stuff going on. I would still say I'm more interested in the characters in general, but we're starting to build up that mystery. Like I said, it's a slow drip feed, but that's how you do mystery here. And I like that. I find it interesting that Lee Porn has to come back here for this part. I mean, I guess plot-wise it might not make sense, but it feels like maybe we've gone back to this location too many times in this episode. It feels like it kind of redundant. But I do like the letter aspect, and we get another little hint, and he's trying to help with the investigation. So I like this scene, ultimately. But yeah, and then I like that Bernadette here is really nervous about how she looks and her outfit. And she put on a front that, like, oh, I go to every celebration with Chee, but really she just kind of wants to impress him. So I like that budding relationship. This lady's really funny. She's like the kind of matriarch of this group here out, it seems like. And she like kind of tacitly approves when Chee shows up, and there's knowing glances. It's fun. It's human interaction, so I like it. I like this the way we end this episode with everybody together, and Lee Porn and Chee, of course, have their sidebar about the letter, and then conveniently, of course, the priest pulls up right then, and also the pregnant girl gives birth at the end. So that's where we end, and I really like the part where we're in the hospital and Lee Porn sits down between them and glances over at them knowingly. So I like that a lot. And we're back with the celebration, and then we get a tease at the end of the episode about the witch lady. And I forgot to mention the artist lady had a clip that the priest guy kind of stole from her, and the witch lady uses it to cast some kind of spell on her. I'm assuming that they want us to believe in the supernatural at this point, whether it ends up being legit or not. But I mean, it's kind of hard to interpret this scene in any other way and to come up with like a logical explanation. So I would say it seems like we're going the supernatural route, which for most people is probably fine. And it's not like I'm against the supernatural, but I feel like this show really doesn't need it. And it's interesting enough. There's enough substance there with the culture, the setting. I would prefer not to have supernatural elements in the show. So that's just me being honest about my opinion. And this witch lady casts the curse, and then the artist lady gets bitten by a black widow spider and dies. So again, like I said, I would prefer not to have the supernatural elements. It's a little disappointing, honestly. Unless they come up with something, you know, I don't even know what you could do. Like, maybe somebody planted that spider there, but how would they know for sure that the spider was going to bite her? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think it's a supernatural thing, and that's kind of the answer I was looking for. And I don't know. I don't know why I'm against it. I just feel like the show doesn't need it. It's interesting enough without it. But that's where we're at. So we're ending on that note. And this is a great show. I like the show a lot. So You know, I got my minor criticisms here, but I think the show has the potential to be a new classic from AMC. So we'll see how I feel by the end of the season. But I do like the preview here. We get a little teaser of certain conflicts that are to come, and it looks exciting. So I'm very much intrigued. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you want to see more reviews like this, I'll probably just wait and do a review of the whole season when it's out. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.